A fantasy draft, a scenario that has been fantasized for a long time in the NBA. And today, we are going to simulate and find out what would happen if we had a fantasy draft. Here's how the draft would work. The lottery selections were done by 2K and random.org. I didn't break anything here. Trades are allowed. We do bi-monthly intervals during the regular season, except for the MVP race we do on the 15th of every month. That will go like a regular NBA season. Put your feedback and questions in the comments below. I'd love to answer them, and if you want to see me do this for multiple seasons. Start off looking at the NBA teams and rosters after the draft. We start with the Sixers, who ended up with Jason Tatum, TJ Warren, DeJounte Murray, Enes Kanter, Evan Fournier, Jalen Brunson, Alec Burks, Hernan Gomez, Twins, Langston Galloway, Delon Wright, and Chandler Hutchins. Next off is the Bucks, who got Zion Williamson, DeAndre Ayton, Darius Garland, Dorian Finney-Smith, Alex Caruso, Mo Harkless, Derek Jones Jr., Devin Vassell, James Bouknight, Jonah Bolden, Usman Garuba, and Ayo Dosunmu. Next we have the Chicago Bulls, who got Paul George, DeMar DeRozan, Malcolm Brogdon, Al Horford, Ricky Rubio, PJ Washington, Carmelo Anthony, Willie Cauley-Stein, Hamid Diallo, Shabazz Napier, PJ Tucker, Corey Kispert, Ian Wainwright, and Noah Vonleh. And now the Cavaliers, who got Anthony Davis, Yusuf Nurkic, Anthony Edwards, Drew Wiggins, Devontae Graham, Terrence Ross, Kendrick Nunn, Juma Okeke, Xavier Tillman, Alex Len, Avery Johnson, DeAndre Melton, George Niang, and Quentin Grimes. Celtics teams look like this: LeBron James, CJ McCollum, Jonas Valanciunas, Thad Young, Jordan Clarkson, Monte Morris, Mason Plumlee, Jeremy Lamb, Jaden McDaniels, Torrey Craig, Kem Birch, Scott Labissiere, Chris Dunn, and Damian Lee. The Clippers team features Zach LaVine, Tobias Harris, Lonzo Ball, Norman Powell, Reggie Jackson, Ivica Zubac, Daniel Theus, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Marc Gasol, Jalen Johnson, Juan Toscano, James Ennis, Mo Wagner, and Svi Mykhailiuk. The Grizzlies roster has Shea, Mikal Bridges, Marcus Bagley, Lonnie Walker, Derek Favors, Alperen Sengun, Killian Hayes, Robin Lopez, Damian Avdija, Jackson Killian Hayes, Kent Bazemore, Nashon Island, Terrence Mann, and JT Thor. The Atlanta Hawks feature Dame Lillard, Colin Sexton, Marcus Bagley, Miles Beasley, Kevin Love, Isaiah Stewart, Cam Johnson, Doug McDermott, Desmond Bain, James Green, Gerald Green, Frank Jackson, Aaron Baines, and someone else who's off the screen. The Heat roster features the return of Bam Adebayo, Chris Milton, Tyrese Halliburton, Marcus Morris Sr., Tyler Harrell, Jay Crowder, Jason Tate, Kelly Oubre Jr., Goran Dragic, Cody Zeller, Frank Kaminsky III, Alonzo Trier, Trey Lyles, and PJ Dozier. The Hornets roster features Joel Embiid, RJ Barrett, Kyle Henderson, Marcus Smart, Gary Trent Jr., Franz Wagner, Theo Maledon, Nick Claxton, Ivan Robb, Chris Duarte, Zach Collins, Dante Exum, T. Murphy III, and Delano Benton. The Utah Jazz's roster features Trae Young, Cade Cunningham, Rashad Holmes, Terrence Mann, Kevin Huerter, Naz Reid, Austin Rivers, Jared Vanderbilt, R.J. Hampton, Chetty Osman, Troy Brown Jr., Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, Bol Bol, and Casey Opala. The roster of the Sacramento Kings looks like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Andre Drummond, Melo Ball, Miles Turner, Cole Anthony, Moses Moody, Markieff Morris, Justice Winslow, Boban Marjanovic, Joshua Primo, Andre Zizic, Kevin Knox, Grant Williams, and Jalen Harris. Highlighting the New York Knicks roster is Nikola Jokic, Fred VanVleet, Gordon Hayward, Mike Conley, Draymond Green, Derrick Rose, and Scotty Barnes. The Lakers roster looks like Russell Westbrook, Jaren Jackson Jr., Victor Oladipo, Lou Dort, Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, Dwight Howard, Paul Millsap, Dario Saric, Patrick Beverly, and Trey Burke at the top. Liners of the Magic roster are Nikola Vucevic, John Morant, Dennis Schroeder, Brandon Clark, OG Anunoby, Seth Curry, and Grayson Allen. Mavericks roster includes Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, Spencer Dinwiddie, Markel Fultz, and Serge Ibaka as the leading men in the team. Leaders of the best players on the Nets are Jimmy Butler, Drew Holiday, Clint Capella, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Derek White, Aaron Gordon, Lou Williams, and Pat Connaughton. Denver Nuggets roster includes Rudy Gobert, De'Aaron Fox, Harrison Barnes, Danilo Gallinari, Sadiq Bey, Rui Hachimura, Luke Kennard, and Malik Monk, as well as Rajon Rondo for the veteran experience. The Indiana Pacers roster includes Carl Anthony Towns, both of the Porter Juniors, Robert Covington, Larry Marketing, Bruce Brown, and Davion Mitchell. Kevin Durant, Terry Rozier, DeAndre Hunter, Kyle Kuzma, Mitchell Robinson highlight the New Orleans Pelicans roster. A young double-headed monster of Devin Booker, Ben Simmons, along with Dante DiVincenzo, Brook Lopez, Reggie Bullock, and Hassan Whiteside highlights the Detroit Pistons team. First pick Luka Doncic, along with a young team featuring Buddy Hield, Wendell Carter Jr. Second pick Jalen Green highlight my Toronto Raptors team. The Houston Rockets are highlighted by Jaylen Brown, Domantas Sabonis, Kyle Lowry, and Jalen Suggs, highlighting a four-headed monster team. The return of Kawhi Leonard, along with the snipe of Chris Paul and a two-headed big man combo of Steven Adams and Jeremy Grant, highlight the Spurs. James Harden with Pascal Siakam and John Wall and Jared Allen highlight a deep Phoenix Suns roster who could go far. Kyrie Irving and D'Angelo Russell, along with two big men in Evan Mobley and James Wiseman, along with a half-deep and young team, highlight the Thunder. Another young team, which includes which is headlined by Bradley Beal, along with Jamal Murray, John Isaac, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Precious Achiuwa, highlight the Minnesota Timberwolves. Risk and Klay Thompson, along with John Collins and Kemba Walker, as well as Mo Bamba, highlight the Portland Trailblazers team. Donovan Mitchell, along with Kristaps Porzingis and the Time Lord, are the best teams on the Warriors. Sorry, there's a few birds screaming where I am right now. And to round it off, the Washington Wizards, highlighted by Steph Curry, Karis LeVert, Christian Wood, Danny Green, and Duncan Robinson. So that's it for the rosters. Let's get started with the regular season. By January, Brooklyn and Sacramento are top of their respective conferences, with Brooklyn having a 16-1 record to this point. In mid-January, the MVP race is led by Luka Doncic of Toronto, averaging 29 a game and 11 assists, followed very closely by Joel Embiid with 29 points. Bam Adebayo was third, with LeBron from Boston in fourth, and Giannis of Sacramento in fifth. This is one of my least favorite parts of this, the injuries, where Kevin Durant has been sidelined for 2 to 4 weeks with a left hand fracture, and Nikola Jokic was injured with a broken left thigh for 6 to 8 weeks. Larry Nance suffers the first season-ending injury, and Bogdan Bogdanovic and Michael Porter Jr. have both had multi-month injuries. By mid-January, big news as the San Antonio has now overtaken Sacramento for top of the conference. Now with San Antonio at the top of the conference, that is where we will end part 1. I will upload part 2 later today, and I hope that you enjoyed watching. I hope that you can stay for part 2, because that will be great. And I hope, and again, hope I can see you for part 2, and see you then.